Well, good morning, friends. This is Carrie from Stamp with CT. Just going to make sure camera's adjusted well before we get started. So, this is a pre-recorded video for July stamp class, which we are featuring the awesome sweet collection called Fresh as a Daisy. And the reason that it's pre-recorded versus a live video with you is because as you're watching this, if you started about 9 o'clock on Saturday the 15th, there's also an in-person version of this class. So we love that even though you may not be able to attend, if you live close to me, you've got something else going on, which I know several of you do, or if you live further away from me, I love that you can still be part of this class. So really grateful to have so many of you here in this Facebook group and to have this kind of a virtual classroom for you to be able to do the stamp class and create cards that are like what we're doing in the in-person class. Now, before the pandemic, I did all of my business in-person classes and events, and so I knew that I needed to be making videos. I knew that I needed to put myself out there, but I didn't have the courage to do it until I was kind of pushed to do it. Didn't have a choice. So we did start when the pandemic began doing weekly Facebook Lives, doing the virtual classes, and then I love that we have been able to kind of do a hybrid business now, and we do both in person and online, and that just makes it fun, and it makes it where we can include everyone. Okay, so let's talk about this Fresh as a Daisy Sweet Collection. If you have your annual catalog on page 110 and 111, you're going to find, first of all, lots and lots of samples to inspire you. I love that about Stampin' Up, that we have so many samples in our catalogs that you can use as a jumping off point for inspiration and in your personal crafting. And then, of course, on page 111, you have the components to the suite, the designer series paper, the embellishments, the stamps, and the dies, which, of course, I will show you those as we get started here. And then I always like to point out we have the easy button down here. If you fall in love with this sweet collection like I did, and you just want one of everything, then you just put in this code. It makes it so easy. One code gets you all of the components from this suite for one price. And you do still get the 10% discount on the stamp die bundle. So let's see. Let's start with a couple samples here. I went ahead and pulled some samples to share with you. So this first one, if I remember correctly, we used this one in our launch party. So some of you may have created this project, and I thought it was really cute. Using the lemon lolly cardstock pairs really well. And it is one of the colors in this designer series paper, but you know, to me, daisies are happy flowers. That's my very favorite flower. Dale gets off easy because I think they're probably one of the most inexpensive and easy to obtain flowers, aren't they? But I love them. They just make me smile. They make me happy. And so the lemon lolly is such a bright, fun color. Goes really well with it. So this is just a little bit of a fun fold. Just have that edge cut off. And then this one, do I have it upside down? Let me get it straightened out here before I show it to you. I can't seem to get it open. There we go. This is a super easy, just very simple card, but I think it really shows off the designer series paper, really shows off components in the suite. This little label is part of the die set, so we'll take a look at that in just a minute. This next card was actually a card I received from another demonstrator in a card swap. So I thought that was pretty. And I'm pretty sure this is Bubble Bath cardstock. So that just looks really nice with the flowers, you know, just on that nice background. And she's got this piece embossed that may not show up. Bring it a little closer. It may not show up on camera with that being a lighter color, but really pretty. Very striking card. And then this one, trying to remember, oh, this I think was part of a bingo event that we did. We had a sneak peek bingo, And when this product was, before it was actually even available to customers, so we used some vellum and just that sentiment piece, so super easy, but again, shows off these products so well. And sometimes it's nice just to keep it simple and pretty. Now this is probably one of the favorite cards that I have created with this Designer Series paper. This piece of Designer Series paper is so pretty. It's a 12 by 12, but you have the flowers at the bottom and then you have sky at the top. So about 8 inches of it has floral images, and then that top part is sky, 4 inches. So it's in the boho blue and copper clay, which, is that not just a fabulous combination? It is just so pretty. And then this card was one that I made with this fun layout. And I think we've actually done this in a class, but used different DSP and embossing folder back behind it. So just a really nice layout that lets you show off the products, and just what a happy, sweet card, right? Here's another one that was part of Bingo. Just really wanted to feature that large daisy die, and that's a really fun one. We didn't put a sentiment on it at all. We just put a strip of that DSP, and this is in the Moody Mauve, paired with Early Espresso, which, wow, doesn't that look pretty together? Here is one that was a swap card. Thought this was really, really cute. And an interesting color combination. Probably not something that I would choose personally, but it really works well together. So I love it that I can swap cards with other demonstrators and get ideas. And color combinations are one of the ideas that I pick up on a lot of times in layouts. So, and then this is a card that just made Wednesday on Facebook Live, and it's a super fun corner pop-up card. So isn't that cute to have those daisies just pop up in the center of that card? And this is a really easy fold to do. If you missed my Facebook Live on Wednesday, you can find it by going to Stamp with CT, or you can find it on my YouTube channel, which is under Carrie Todd, Stamp with CT. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at some more of the product. I think we'll save the DSP for last. So this is the beautiful stamp set, Cheerful Daisies. You've got so many options with the stamps in this set. It is photopolymer, so I know with the two-step stamping, with the more detailed image and then the background image, that makes it so easy to line them up. But you can even use these separately, as you've seen on some of the cards. And then it has the Cheerful Daisy dies as well. So many options with these dies too. Of course, it coordinates with the stamp set, but you can just cut out flowers as well. So I love that. Really versatile die set. And I always like it when they put some sentiment pieces in there as well. That always makes me happy. So there it is. So we're using this label sentiment piece today on a couple of the cards. Okay, and here of course is what your packet looks like if you registered for class. If you didn't, we are still so glad to have you here, and you can just get inspired, and you may want to pick up these products and make the projects yourself, or you may have this already in your collection. So feel free to recreate what we've done, and I hope that this inspires you. Or if you don't have these products, substitute something. Just be creative, okay? But this is how my packets come. All 4 of the projects that we're making today, the components are slid into an envelope, so you do get the envelopes as well. We put a little paper in here to let you know what class it is and where you can find the video and what day. So hopefully that is helpful. It seems once we've done that, we get a lot fewer questions, because not everybody can do the class exactly when it's posted, and that's fine. But we just get a lot fewer questions now because people are able to find things easier. So I always like coming up with solutions for issues like that. And then the Fresh as a Daisy Designer Series paper. You've seen some of that as you've looked through the cards, but it's just so beautiful. You've got the floral images on the front, and then you've got more of a watercolor wash type impression on the back. So very, very versatile, and you can just use this for so much. This is that paper I was telling you has the flowers on the bottom, and then the top is like the sky, so it's got the copper clay on the back. So much you can do with this paper. Now I will tell you, with this class, I did have a challenge, and the challenge is I had such a hard time scaling it back. I could have easily kept you here for hours creating daisy cards because I love this suite. It is beautiful. It's so fun to work with. And I just had so many ideas. But I think you're going to love the 4 cards that we included in this packet. And I'll be posting some next week too. Some other ideas. And, continue to use these products throughout the year because I just love it so much. Okay, let's start with project number 1. First, I'm going to grab my sentiment here. And you do need just a few supplies. I'm using copper clay and garden green ink today, but I think that you can get away with really any brown or any green. There's going to be some cards that have some blue in them. You just use what works for you. If you choose to use a black ink pad on all 4 cards, that's going to work too. So I love that this is a really versatile paper because there's several colors in it. Let me tell you what those are. We have Azure Afternoon, we have Boho Blue, Bubble Bath, Cajun Craze, which is one that I typically just use in the fall, Copper Clay, Crushed Curry, Early Espresso, Garden Green, Lemon Lolly, Mossy Meadow, Pebbled Path, Pretty Peacock, and Wild Wheat. We're going to do a card. The very first card pairs the Wild Wheat and Pretty Peacock together. So it's just a little bit of a fun fold card. So of course it opens like this, but this piece also comes out. So I thought that was a fun way to show off a couple of pieces of Designer Series paper. This little spriggy piece is part of the dies, and of course we could put a daisy on this card if we wanted to using the dies, but I just love this paper so much and thought it had such a beautiful color combination that I thought we're going to just leave it like this. I was so tempted to put a daisy, but instead I put this little sprig. So you have got a Wild Wheat card base. This is one of our new in colors. And then Pretty Peacock is one of the colors that came back from days gone by. And then the Designer Series paper, couple of the designs from it. I know what I didn't show you, and that is the embellishment from this suite. Now, if you registered in your packet, you're going to have a whole strip of these embellishments. So you're going to get to see those in person and use them. I think it's going to be more than enough for what you need for your projects today. So I hope you enjoy those. I love that we get to do that. And share those embellishments with you. They'll just cut straight up that little acetate sheet, and we're able to include those for you. So I love that. But that's where those little gems come from that we added, and we did use the Boho Blue gems for that. Okay, so when you're getting your pieces out of your packet, just be sure that you've got everything. I always like to double check my envelope. And then I like to kind of get organized here. So we've got several pieces. Got our inside panel there. We've got that that's going to mat on there. We've got this piece of DSP. We've got our little sprig, and we've got our sentiment piece. So first thing we need to do, we're going to score. Well, we've already scored it for you. I'm sorry. We're going to burnish the score line. This is a very important step, I think. When you have everything scored for you, you'll just want to reinforce those score lines. And so this little piece is just going to No, open up like that. You could certainly do some stamping on the inside if you want to. I chose not to, but we're going to put our basic white layer inside here. You will have to let me know what you think of Wild Wheat. Out of all the new in colors and the colors that returned, it's probably the one that I struggle to know exactly what to do with. It's just kind of a different shade to me, kind of mustardy. It does kind of depend on what you pair it with. It's the one that I've probably used the very least. So I was excited to be able to pair it with Pretty Peacock. I think it looks really nice together. So I was excited to be able to use it, kind of feature that. Okay, this one's going to come together pretty quickly, y'all. We're going to take that piece of the Designer Series paper that looks like the watercolor wash, and that one is in the Wild Wheat, and just put a little bit of glue and mat that up with our Pretty Peacock. Now, this is going to be a very small border, and I like that look. I think that does help though. Give a little break, especially here on the edge up against the Wild Wheat cardstock. Gives it a little break and really makes that Designer Series paper stand out. So again, you've just got a very small border. Just take your time and line that up. It's a super simple card, but I really like how it turned out. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and mat this piece of Designer Series paper, and it's just a 4x4. I always like that we can get, let me stop and think about it, 9 pieces of 4x4 out of a 12x12 sheet of Designer Series paper. So it's fun to use 4x4 DSP. Really stretches your paper, and then you don't have any waste at all, any scrap at all. Now, this lovely flower, I think I want to position this where it is over here. So everybody's paper is going to be just a little bit different depending on where it was cut from on the page. And I really think that's going to be the best use, where I've got a little bit larger flower in a different place over here. But we'll add it. So just be mindful of the piece of Designer Series paper you received. And again, small border on the card base. I love that look. And we might have to work with this piece once you put it in a clear envelope or you store it with your other cards. This is going to close nicer, but right now it's being stubborn, isn't it? Close my glue up, and I don't want to lose my sprig. So let's go ahead and do our stamping. And for this one, I'm using the Copper Clay ink. There's some copper clay in the background of this paper. Here is the little label piece that I was telling you about. I love that we have this sentiment piece in this die set. And it fits 3 of the 4 sentiments in this set. I set that down before I really intended to, but I think we're going to be okay. Must be living right, y'all. I will probably put an embellishment up there to kind of help camouflage the fact that I messed that up. If you are using a stamp set, if you're using this one, of course, it's photopolymer, but if you're using a stamp set that is photopolymer, don't forget to grab your piercing mat. That can make such a big difference in your crafting. Now I'm just going to put a little spot of liquid glue, or you could use some Stampin' Seal or a glue dot. And I want to put my sprig on. And then I'm going to pop that whole piece up. So just I want to secure that back there, but I'm not hiding too much back behind that label. And then I've got some Stampin' Dimensionals, of course. And I'm down to the bones on this sheet. I have another sheet out, but I'm down to the bones, those edges, so don't forget to use those. I've told this story before, but when I first started paper crafting, I used to throw those away. What was I thinking? I wasn't. Pull that paper backing off. And then the way that I did this is I positioned this to where the label comes across to the other side just a bit. I just like that. I don't know. You position it where you like it, but I thought that was fun that it comes across over to this little strip. Just a tiny bit. I don't know that that's super straight, is it? Sometimes it helps to turn it upside down. That looks better. Okay. Now again, we'll grab some of our really pretty embellishments. And you have plenty that you're able to sprinkle on. I am going to use the boho blue. And I think I'll do that same thing as far as putting a couple of those up here on this little strip. But then I think I need to come in maybe right there. No, not right there. Maybe over here. Because that sentiment is not centered on that label, but that's okay. Okay, guys, that is our first project, and I just love the way that that turned out. I think it's just so pretty. And it's a fun fold. It's an easy one, but we always like to have those little fun folds in there. You could also adhere this piece on the right. You could adhere that down if you wanted to, but I kind of like it like that. So there's card number 1, and we will move on to number 2. Now you're going to need, I think you are, we may have punched this for you. Trying to remember, I don't think we did. I think we intended to and we didn't. But if we did, it'll work out. If not, I know that you have a circle punch, a square punch, an oval punch, something that will work. You just need a circle or a die, either way. Again, a super simple little project, but we have punched out a hole so that you can see the flower on the inside of the card, and then of course there it is as you open it as well. So isn't that cute? Just simple and fun, but we're just punching that hole out. So let's go ahead and grab our envelope and the stamp that we're going to need, and we'll get started. Okay, make sure that you've got all of your pieces out. And we'll go ahead and get organized here. I thought it was fun to use the inside panel to be Lemon Lolly because it's going to be light enough. We'll be able to write our message inside. This is Pebbled Path cardstock that we are using for the base, and I love it. It's a really, really pretty color. Again, one of the new in colors. I think that they are all featured in this designer series paper. So let's go ahead and adhere that Lemon Lolly on the inside to our inside panel. Trying to tell which is the cut side. I'm funny like that. I think it doesn't really matter, but I like to put the cut side down. And doesn't that Pebbled Path with Lemon Lolly, ooh, that just makes that Lemon Lolly really pop. I love this combo. Then we're going to adhere our designer series paper, but you don't want to glue it down the center. You know, normally I put the little squiggle in the middle for fun. Don't do that this time. Just do your corners. You may even want to put a little bit on the sides, but don't do the center. And that's because we're going to be cutting that hole out. I'm sorry guys, I just can't remember, but I don't think we did that for you. I think we pretty much figured everybody has a circle die, circle punch, something, because really lots of different shapes would work with this. All right, I'll let that dry for just a second. And then over here, you've got your label, your lemon lolly circle, and then the two pieces of your medium daisy, or a little bit smaller daisy. Now you've got some options. You can really punch the circle or whatever shape you're using from wherever you would like to. This is our 2 3/8 inch circle punch. And I thought about coming in from the top. I knew though that I did not want this necessarily centered on the card. And then I also looked at coming in from the side, and I just really like it over there. So it came down just a little bit. And because you're going through a cardstock and DSP, it may be a little bit harder to punch, but there you've got your circle. Ooh, I got a little bit of glue. Didn't intend to do that. I went a little bit too far over, but it's going to be okay. No worries. We'll just turn that over, and we'll use this DSP for something else. I bet you're going to be seeing some DSP circles for something else. Okay. So here we've got that punched out, and I think the next thing we'll do is go ahead and stamp our sentiment. And Dale just got back from taking the recycling, so I'm surprised Oliver didn't bark at you. You know what?
Me too.
He'll just let anybody come in, won't he? Okay. And this one is a sweet little birthday card. I don't know that I stamped that super straight. I don't think it doesn't look terrible. And it's handmade, right? Not meant to be perfect. Okay. So that is going to go down here. And again, you can place it wherever you like it. We're on card number 2, Dee.
All right.
And Oliver's being a little angel. Okay. I've got dimensional backs everywhere, as usual. See if that looks straight.
It looks. Let's see.
No, gonna change it a little bit.
No,
You've got a crazy little pup in your lap.
I do. I do.
I think it's pretty straight. The stamping is not perfect, but that's okay. So I told them only put glue in the corners, and then I put a little on the side too. So guess what I ended up with? Goodness.
The side that you need to glue down. Right?
That's exactly right. That determines which side will be glued down. So we just pop that through. No, don't bark, please. To get that positioning, so that you don't see any lemon lolly cardstock on the outside. Super simple card, but oh, it's so cute, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And then for the daisy, you've got the 2 pieces, the bottom layer and then the little bit of detail. So you're really only going to need just a couple little drops of liquid glue. To adhere that. And you can play with this and get this matched up perfectly on your daisy. I kind of like it a little bit wonky, where it's not lined up perfectly. Oh gosh, I just got glue on my table. That's never good. Now we're going to want to bring in our dimensionals. I'm going to try to use up some of these bones. And then I'm also going to go ahead and bring in my embellishment while we let that glue dry for just a second. Because I'm going to put some dimensional on the back of my daisy and pop it in the center of this stylish shape circle. You know we can't have a class without using the stylish shapes, right? But I'm gonna do double dimensional because you know that's coming through from the inside of the card. So I want to go ahead and put dimensionals on this lemon lolly piece as well. We're gonna double dimensional. That's a thing. Double dimensionaling is what we're doing, Dee.
All right. I like it.
We always said, when in doubt, pop it up. When we first started crafting, LaDonna and I, she would say, are you going to pop it up? Yes. So then we'll just kind of center that. If you want to put it on there a little bit wonky, I think that's perfectly fine. And then to finish this one off, there are some yellow, really sparkly yellow gems. We're going to pop one in the middle of the flower.
One of those copper clay ones would work too.
I like the yellow. And we may want the copper clay for something else. Now if you want to sprinkle on some more, you could. But definitely one in the center of that daisy, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Pulls it together. Just makes it the cutest little card. So that is number 2. I'm going to hand you that so I can move some things down on the table.
Okay.
We're going to look at lots of samples. Now this next one, I have to say, even though we've got a couple fun folds in this class, this is probably my favorite of all the cards. And you're going to find that this is using smaller pieces of the designer series paper and then also the vellum. And this is called, of course, the name of it, Vellum Basics. It actually carried over from the mini catalog from last year. And I had a package and I didn't use it at all. And now that I've pulled it out and cut into it, I can't quit using it. It has a polka dot, it has a leaf, and it has a stripe pattern. So we ended up not having enough of any of them. Sorry guys, close that door please, Bill. We ended up not having enough of any of them for all of the cards to be the same vellum. So what we ended up doing was using 2 different designs. So we've got some that have stripes and some that have dots. It's just going to depend on which package you got, which one you're going to have. You're going to find a couple of little strips of designer series paper inside here in your packet, and I use those on the inside of the card. One of the cards that I got in a swap, someone did this, and I thought that was just really cute to have that second little tiny 1/4 of an inch strip to add even more color. Pull it all together. I like that. So again, being careful to get all of our pieces out. And get organized here. I need to make sure that I got my vellum out, and I did. Now you know you can't really sneak into our house, can you? Oh, goodness.
Not very easily.
Not very easily.
It sure don't sneak in by ringing the doorbell.
So here's a garden green card base, and it's just our standard card base. This one is not a fun fold, but I just think it's so pretty. I'm looking for my skinny little strip. There he is. He's just flipped over. So, of course, we're going to go ahead and do the inside first. That's what I just like to do, get that knocked out first. I'll put a glue. And I probably should have put that on the cardstock layer versus on the strip, right?
No.
Keep my fingers cleaner. That looks straight to you, Dee. And then same thing with this little strip. So again, great way to use up scraps. That was not good. That did not land peanut butter side up, did it?
No, it didn't.
But it didn't land on the card, did it? I don't think so.
No, it doesn't.
I'm just overlapping those a tiny bit on this one. I don't think I did that. I think I butted it up against the other one on my sample, but either way works. Or if you don't want to add the strips there, you could put them on the envelope, couldn't you?
Absolutely.
And maybe this time I'll turn this to where that inside part is on the other side. Mix it up a little bit. You know, we end up with those strips of DSP, so let's use them. Now, this is another great way to use your designer series paper. This piece is cut at 5.5 by 2 inches. I'm pretty sure that looks like 2 inches, doesn't it? It's been a little bit since I prepped this, but I want to double check. Yeah. So when you cut it at 2 inches, you know, that goes and multiplies or divides into 12. So you get so many pieces when you use those even measurements. So it gives you some color and some DSP, but you're not completely covering the card front. Does that make sense? Not really?
Yep.
I don't think I explained that very well, but I like using 2-inch strips. Then I just came over a bit from the edge of the card. I don't know. Maybe not quite a 1/2 inch. Just eyeballing it. You just want to bring it over a little bit. It's not going to be flush against that edge. Or it may be if that's the way you like it. And then what I did, you know what, I have lost something, haven't I, Dee? No, there it is. Where's my stem? There it is. Okay. We've got everything. So I was telling them there's lots of little pieces. So this one you can probably tell a little bit better here is the polka dot. My other one is the stripe. So we're going to kind of get our placement here. Because what I want to do is figure out where I want everything before I glue it down. I'm kind of looking to have about as much space here as I do over here. How's that look, Dee?
That's good.
Now, with vellum, one of the things about vellum that we tend not to use it is because it can be difficult to figure out how to adhere it without it showing. So, this project, it's super easy because all we're going to have to do is lift up that piece of designer series paper and put a little glue right here. That was probably a lot of bit of glue, wasn't it? Let me get this straightened back up here. So we'll let that dry for a second while we work on this other component. This is just a piece of Designer Series paper. And when we do the projects, sometimes we have to do something a little bit different for those that are doing the project to go. We like to make it where all you really need is sentiments to complete the project, so that you're able to pull from your stash if you don't have this stamp set yet, because you're going to want it, right? So here we stamped.
They don't have it yet?
Maybe not yet. So here what I did was I stamped the leaf and the stem, but you're going to find that you have a die cut leaf and stem. So what's nice is in our in-person class, I'm going to have it both ways. So they can stamp it if they want to. If they want to run back here to the craft room and they want to cut their stem and leaf, they could. But you're going to be able to complete the card even without the stamp set, because one of the policies of Stampin' Up! Is that I can't stamp for you. So we're staying compliant with Stampin' Up!, but we're still making a cute card. So again, we need to get some placement, get some little components here put together. And this is just the cutest little flower. Just a tiny bit of liquid glue. Sorry. And we'll get this lined up so we can let it dry. Oliver, please stop. Let's sit there for just a second. And that way I can go ahead and get my stem on here. So again, I just use a tiny bit of liquid glue. You could certainly use your silicone craft sheet or a little piece of scrap paper and put some glue on it and dip these little pieces through it if you wanted to. That's another way to do it. Keep from getting it all over your fingers, right? And I don't know if you're aware of this, but daisies kind of do what they want. And so you don't have to have this perfect. We have something called Crazy Daisies out in pots out front. Well, I guess it moved to the side because the winter really got to it, didn't it?
Yep.
And we had to get some new daisies for the front. But we have some that are called Crazy Daisies, and they just go all over the place. They're so fun.
And they're different colors.
Yes. But Dale went to Home Depot and he got me some really pretty purple daisies this year. And then your leaf is on a glue dot already. This is just a way to try to keep up with some of these smaller pieces, the way that we're packaging it. So you kind of get your adhesive included on that one. You could certainly pop that up with a dimensional if you prefer to do that. So now we're ready to add this. Let me put it on the other card, the one we're actually making, right?
Well, that'll probably work out.
Not a double layer of focal image. And we'll pop this on. Get this at a different angle so I can see it better. Okay. That look pretty good, Dee?
Looks good.
I love this card. I just love it. I love this vellum so much. So the next thing we need to do, and I hope I haven't gotten glue all over it, but we need to stamp our greeting. I'm using Garden Green this time. Just pulling from the colors in the Designer Series paper. sure I've got it inked up good. So you can see now that 3 of those sentiments fit really nicely on this label. And of course you can use the label die with other stamps in your collection. And now I did pop this up with dimensionals. I told them that we had trouble with this stamp class. It was a challenge to scale it back, so I didn't keep them here all day.
Yeah.
It was, oh, it's so fun to design projects when you absolutely love the stamp and dies and everything. Which I do love a lot of, I mean, not all of the stuff that we use, of course, or I wouldn't be using it, but there's certain things that you just really connect with and fall in love with, and this is one of my favorites. I don't have that very straight, do I? That's better. Okay, so we want to definitely bring back in our little embellishments. And let's see, I think on this one I used the copper clay, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you've got plenty, so you just sprinkle them on however you want to. I may put one right up here, do a little bit differently. You've got a small, medium, and a large on these. Maybe right there. And I'll get one of those little guys. Maybe put him over here. Maybe I'll bring him up at the top with the larger one. Okay, card number 3 is done. What do y'all think? Is that your favorite too?
I like it. I like it a lot.
But that's not your favorite, is it? Is the next one your favorite?
No.
They're all over here.
All over there.
Was number 1, number 2. Which one was your favorite?
I think it was number 1.
Number 1? This
Yeah.
was number 1. Okay, let me set these aside with card 1 and 2, and we'll do number 4, which is a really cool fun fold. I don't really know what this is called. Do you?
Well,
It's
Easel-
an
easel
easel
card.
card. It's a type of an easel card. Got my sentiment over here. So this is what it looks like. And then it opens up. You've got just a fairly small place to write. I guess you could put another white panel up there if you wanted to. You could even put some more designer series paper. There's lots you can do with this design to decorate it up more than what we did, but I just love the way this turned out. This truly is my favorite piece of designer series paper in this set. So what's cool is the way that this displays on a desk or a table. So that easel portion of it. So let's get started on this one. I'm going to lay it back down though so you can kind of see. We want to be careful of our small pieces. I'll set that aside for a minute while we work on our card base. And I know that you can certainly measure what we did here as far as score lines and everything. But if you need us to provide that, let me know, okay? So definitely burnish everything really well with your bone folder. Right, Dale? They'll learn that lesson this week, y'all. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's how easy it is to create that portion of the card. And then this piece is 8.5 by 2 3/4, and it's scored at 4 1/4. And it's just going to come up and over the card. But first we want to put this little layer in. That pretty DSP. And this is just a piece of copper clay cardstock. Let me make sure I've got my flowers right side up. Don't want any upside down daisies, oopsie daisies, right? And this is cut at 5.5 inches. Oops, I am making a big mess. Let me scoot that back down. It's cut at 5.5 by 2, the designer series paper. But the cardstock is 5.5 by 2.5.
I think I like it.
What?
I told you it was upside down. Flip it.
Oh,
There you go.
did you tell me that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it doesn't really matter at this point, does it? Now is when it matters. So my point is there's a little bit larger border, top and bottom, but it's going to come all the way over to the edge. Now, my designer series paper is just not even a 1/16 of an inch, is it? Just like a little whisper. I'm not going to attempt that. Do you want to trim that, Dee?
Sure, I'll take it.
Okay, it's just a tiniest bit longer than the cardstock. When you find that we've prepped that, I would much rather you have the tiny bit extra than me to cut it too short and that copper clay show at either end. So I guess we did that on purpose, right? Okay, so now this piece is going to layer back here. And again, you're going to have a little bit larger border of the blue and the copper clay than what we typically do, but I like that look.
I like it, especially when it goes all the way across like
Mhm.
that.
And you know, you can kind of judge this too. When the card is displayed, you don't really see down into it here. So if you wanted to push that up a little bit, you could. I look straight from this side. Oh, come on. My glue's drying too fast, huh? Maybe with the heat. Okay. Now I need to find my little strip. I think I must have an extra of this guy. Little strip, and it's just a piece of that copper clay designer series paper. Now again, this was intentional for it to be too long because I'd rather you just cut that off. And I'm going to put my pretty thick bead of liquid glue across there, huh? Right down the center, ish. And then add that going across. Yeah, I did get a little crooked, didn't I? That's okay. We'll fix that in a minute. Just line it up on one end. And then you're going to be able to flip it over and trim that excess off. Snip it right off. I just prefer to do that because I'm always afraid I'm gonna short you just a tiny bit and that will show. I'd much rather have a little extra, little wiggle room, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, somehow I ended up with the extra. I guess I'm the favorite this time, right?
Looks like it.
We worked so hard to prep these kits, and every time there's something awry. That cardstock sticks together, doesn't it?
It's kind of hard to add back to cardstock, just like it is when you're working in the wood shop. It's kind of hard to add back to wood.
Measure twice, cut once. Is that what you're saying? Now, this would have been ideal if I had stamped my sentiment before I glued that piece down, but we're living right today, so we're just going to go for it. And this sentiment says, "You made my day." And it's just a little strip sentiment. Be careful though if you're doing one like this, because sometimes you have to be careful. You don't want to rock it at all. And I think we can do it. I'm actually stamping it on the opposite side on this one. That's pretty good. Pretty good. I may start gluing all my inside panels that I'm going to stamp first.
Like
No, I'm not. Who am I kidding? Okay, so we are, I'm going to be living right too. That glue part is going to be covered. Look at that. Okay. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put this piece on next. And the way that I did it was just kind of figured out where I wanted it. Because it's going to come to the bottom of the card, front and back. But I did want a little bit of the daisy to show over to the left of this as well. So by the time you get done, this is 4 1/4, this is 5 1/2. It fits in a regular envelope, in case you were wondering that. And so then what I did was just kind of lifted that up and put some glue. And then made sure that it is flush with the bottom front piece on the card. Get everything lined up the way that I want it. And give it a little time to dry. Have to be patient, right? And then I can flip it over, hold all of that down, and add some glue back here, and bring this piece down. And it really just goes exactly where you want it, doesn't it?
Yep. Flushes up on its own.
Mm-hmm. Close my glue right quick while we wait for that to dry for a second.
I thought we were living dangerous.
We are. Dangerously. That's just the story of our lives. So here we have everything except our daisy, right? And this is a really cool die that has all of these pieces attached. Now, I've seen a lot of people cutting this apart, which is definitely an option. Just thought this was a really pretty focal image. And what I did was went ahead and glued this on here, and then I took some Wink of Stella, and it may not show up on camera, but it has Wink of Stella in the center. I tried a couple of things. I wanted to add a copper clay center, and I used a sponge dauber to add some copper clay ink, and it just looked like I had dirty daisies. So I just went back to the Wink of Stella and kept it simple like that. So you're just going to need a little bit of glue in a couple of places. Strategically placed. And I didn't really worry about the leaf. I just left it. So I'm not gluing every little piece of this down. And I like that added dimension. And the Tombow glue is going to make sure it still stays in place and stays where I want it. Now also double check before you glue it down. We tried to pluck all of the little bits out for you, but if I missed anything, just use your paper piercer, take your pick tool to be sure and pop those out before you glue it down, unless you want them on there. Find my Wink of Stella. And if you're not familiar with Wink of Stella, it's a little brush that has glitter in it. What is wrong with that, right? Little shimmer pen. So I just went in and colored the center with that Wink of Stella. And I did a couple coats on it to give it a little shimmer. Did I put any gems on this one?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Use a copper clay again.
I did? Okay. Let's use copper clay gems for this one too. I'd forgotten. let's see. I'm trying to decide where I want to put it. I think up here, right? Oops, did I lose it?
Yeah. Right there on the edge.
Oh. It is not where you belong. I think I'll grab a little one. Well, I say I will. I decided to be on my finger instead. Those are just so shiny and pretty. And we'll just get maybe a couple more. Maybe do 5 on this one. Really go crazy. I think that even accentuates the die cut piece even more. What do you think?
Love it.
Oh, it turned out really pretty. And I still have a tiny little blip of glue over here, but I can fix that. We'll let that dry. One of the things about Tombow, it dries clear. It's going to be a little bit tacky, but you can use an adhesive eraser, or you can use your powder tool for embossing, and that will take that tackiness away. So there we go. There's our 4th project, and I love that that easel card stands up. Let me bring one of each back in, just to remind you what we've created today. Love that one. Get one of number 1 as well. So I bet you have fallen in love with these daisies, haven't you? If you hadn't already. Absolutely love these products. Let me know if you have any questions, if we can help in any way. And if you need any product, you can always go to my online store at stampwithct.stampinup.net. Or if you prefer for me to put your order in for you, no problem doing that. We're going to work on that for someone in just a little bit. We have no problem doing that, helping you out that way. And we do have bonus days going on in July. So through the 31st, for every $50 that you spend before tax and shipping, you will get an email from Stampin' Up! With a $5 coupon code. And you can collect as many of those as you want. And then in August, you'll be able to redeem those coupon codes. So nothing like getting some free product, right?
Right.
I like to use mine to get adhesive. I just, that's just what I like to do. So if you need to stock up on adhesive, that's a great way to do it. Okay, I think that's it for now. Thanks so much for spending some time with us, and we hope you enjoyed the Fresh as a Daisy stamp class for July. Thank you.